Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue now to look at some more examples of factoring by grouping. This first example is a little bit more complicated than the example we looked at in the last video. Again, we have four terms, and typically what we'll do is group the first two together and the second two together. Every once in a while you might run into one where you have to reorder them, but for the most part this is going to work. And again, we look for the common factor. We have a 6 and a 15. We can say we can take a 3 out. We have an x squared and an x, so we can take an x out. Okay. So we factor that out. And we're left with a 2x minus a 5. Third term is positive here, so we bring down the plus sign. And we have a 4 and a 10. So we can take out a 2 only. And that would leave us again with a 2x minus 5. Probably the biggest mistakes that people run into with factoring by grouping is not taking out the greatest common factor. Take out a little bit less and then the things don't match up. Okay, remember, for factoring by grouping to work, the two middle terms have to match up. Okay. If they do, then we can take that quantity out. 2x minus 5. And we're left with just the 3x plus 2. Okay, so that's the process of factoring by grouping, and you're going to get a lot of practice of this with this when we get into section 6.4. We're going to be doing it pretty much every problem. Now, I mentioned in the previous video that if the third term is negative, it does lead to a little bit of an issue where we've got to be careful. So I want to take this same problem and I'm just going to rearrange it so that just flip-flopping that 15x and the 4x. Because now the third term has a negative sign on it. I want you to see how we have to be a little careful when we're doing this problem now. We're still going to group the first two together and the second two together. This time now we have a 6x squared and a 4x. We can take a 2 out of the 6 and the 4. And we can also take an x out. So we go ahead and do that. And you may want to pause the video and try this on your own. 2 goes into 6 3 times with an x left over. 2x and 4x, we need a 2. Now when we come to that third term, we put the negative sign down. Now for 15 and 10, we say, well, I can take a 5 out. What we have to understand here is that we've actually factored out a negative 5 because of the negative sign we wrote down. So when I come back, negative 5 goes into negative 15 with 3 left over and the x. Most people get that one, no problem. They seem to intuitively get that right. But when it comes to the 10 here, negative 5 into 10. It's not 10, it's negative 10. Negative 5 gets into negative 10 positive 2 times. What you'll have to remember is when that third term's negative there, it's going to cause the sign on that last term to change. And now you can see we have a 3x plus 2 and a 3x plus 2. We can pull those out and we have our result. Okay. And so that's the process of factoring by grouping. You're looking for the common factor on each piece. You pull it out and we have our result. Okay, so that's the process of factoring by grouping. If you look at these two problems where I rearranged them, what you may notice here when you look at these two lines is that basically flip-flopping those two middle terms, the only effect that really had was basically the stuff on the inside in the first one is the stuff on the outside in the second one, and the stuff on the outside in the first term there is the stuff on the inside of the second one. Okay, so that's the process of factoring by grouping. By the way, if any of the material that we're covering, if you want some additional examples, if you take the topic that we're doing and do a search in YouTube, you will find tons of additional examples from other people that other people have made. So at any time, you can definitely find additional examples all throughout YouTube.